You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, it's AFTERBUZZ TV's Californication After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Californication After Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Season 7 of Californication, Episode 9, Faith, Hope, and Love. What started off as a very sad episode, we didn't get the normal title credit sequence.
Yeah, it wasn't like we're usually like accustomed to, like that, or, you know, traditional opening with Hank doing his thing in Venice Beach. It was definitely sad and somber.
And yet, I was worried that it would be more somber than it actually was. It still had its Californication moments of funny, especially with Runkle.
Yeah, Marcy and Runkle and their open sexual relationship.
Among many other things. And you know, as we also had the flashbacks, although very serious, they offered some comedic timing as well.
Yeah. It was one of those episodes. It was like a flashback episode, and it was not your normal Californication episode. It wasn't what we come to expect.
It was out of necessity, and out of necessity, we have Andreas Sgourdos back.
Andreas Sgourdos. Woo!
We have Phil Svitek, that's me. And in the booth, Stephen Lemieux. Happy birthday, Stephen.
Thank you, Phil.
Happy birthday.
Don't even do it. I'll mute you. Good.
But if you're listening to this not on June 8th, please delete that portion of the show.
I know,
it's
seriously.
not his birthday anymore.
You cannot wish me a happy birthday outside of June 8th.
What'd you do for your birthday?
I got banged up.
You got banged?
I did a bang-up job.
Sounds like a perfect birthday. It ended with a bang. We'll just put it
did
that
end
way.
with a bang.
But not a good bang.
Let's just say it's not what you're thinking. It's actually more related to the episode, unfortunately.
I know. I was kind of surprised watching this episode. Like, oh wow, this is kind of close to home.
Yeah, this was like, basically reminiscent of what happened last night. Or, that was last night.
All right, if you're listening, I got in a car accident last night and got a concussion. All right, there you go. All right, out of the way.
Similar to Karen in Californication.
Luckily, Stephen is actually okay, hence he is engineering.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get Runkle and that kind of weirdness out of the way. I like how Marcy is the one to say, you know what? Who cares about sex? This whole thing started because he's been jerking off in the office. He's been screwing the assistants, which obviously tied back at the end of the episode when they were having their dinner of like he was getting a new hot female secretary. But yeah, I mean, if Marcy wasn't so mad, none of this would have happened.
Yeah, she kind of analyzed the relationship. That was a funny scene when she's basically forgiving him and saying it's kind of her fault. You know, it's completely normal for a guy, to get an erection if his, hot secretary wants him to spank him, giving all the reasons why what he did was 100% normal and that she was okay with it, and it doesn't really matter because the gravity of the situation at hand, what really matters is, that you're okay. But then she had to add, obviously, like she does every episode, she's like, well, if Stu sent me a picture of his penis, I would probably get wet, and then obviously that
then it goes south. But that she's always kind of been like that, where whatever argument she's giving ultimately will turn around in her favor, which is very much a Runkle kind of thing.
Do you think she does that on purpose, or do you think it's?
I think just listening to that in this episode, it's what makes Runkle and Marcy so well suited for each other, because Runkle always has that tendency. He goes into the hospital, and yet then it's all about, I can't give blood.
Yeah.
By the way, how are you?
That was so funny. When he comes into the hospital, he's like more emotionally distraught than what Hank is, and he looks like he's about to break down and cry. And then he's like, is there anything I can do? Yeah, you could donate your blood. He's like, besides that, it just shows you like how big of a baby. He's kind of he's just kind of a wussy. Like it's like, I don't know if Runkle has any hope. But here's the thing with Marcy. It's like one of those situations. Like I was watching the episode today, and she's talking about, you know, they almost came to terms with an agreement that, you know, she's probably not going to sleep with Stu for $1 million because they can do other things. But then she comes back and says, well, you know, Runkle says something nice like, well, as long as you're okay, everything's okay. And she's like, well, we still need a home to go, you know, go to. And I feel like she's still very, very, very open to the idea of sleeping with Stu for $1 million. That's what I got out of this episode.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they kept using the word perspective. This puts things into perspective, and it does. But at the end of the day, you know, we unfortunately don't know his character's name, but we'll call him Morgan Freeman.
Oh, yeah.
You guys should know who we're referring to, but, you know, whose wife has cancer. You know, not everyone can be happy all the time. Not everyone's going to agree all the time. And at the end of the day, you know, so while this may put things into perspective, at the end of the day, you have to do certain actions, A, just in order to live, B, be a couple, and all these different things. And if you're not doing them properly, then you're never going to make it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is the path to righteousness, so to speak.
Yeah. I feel like this episode is one of kind of those episodes where I don't know if you're a religious person or not, but you know, you go to church, you go to like a motivational like presentation, or you do something for 45 minutes or an hour, and everybody comes together, and it's like this spiritual thing, and everybody's on the same page. It's like, you know, you're having a sip at a bar drinking with your buddies, and all of a sudden you guys are opening up to each other, and everything's great, and you're gonna, you know, find the cure to cancer and figure everything out. But then once that's all over, you're back to reality, and I feel like that's what it's gonna be like next episode. It's gonna be back to reality. Oh,
very much so. It's very much a classic. We'll obviously talk about that.
I don't know if they've made any progress. Yeah, I think we'll be back to our typical Californication. So it's a nice idea, and it's a nice thought. Thinking maybe they grew as a couple, maybe they matured a little bit, but I think that's wishful thinking. I
feel like we always get like, I don't want to just say 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I'll say 4 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good one.
Because they
you can trademark that one.
Well, because they do try to progress in such a fast way, but ultimately they don't.
It seems like they only try to, like, the only kind of progression they make is when it's something extreme happens. But I mean, that's like society in general, I guess. But I don't know.
But even with this, again, ultimately, obviously we'll talk about Hank and Karen, but I don't know how much Marcy and Runkle have really progressed. I mean, if nothing else, their bond kind of continues. They're back together, and I don't.
I think it almost seems like Marcy's missing more screws than Runkle's is. I don't know. There's something off about her character. It seems like.
But we're reminded today that he's been more kinkier than her.
Yeah.
She was into drugs and things of that nature, but he was the one.
But even when he's trying to have a moment here, you know, and she's just like, I don't know, like it was a very like beautiful moment where she could have been like, you know, you're right, but the writer obviously didn't want to write it that way, and it was just like I was hoping, but it was, you know, out of Marcy's character, I think what she said was perfectly fitting for her character. It just comes to a point as a viewer, it's like a little too much, you know, like I'm hoping for a little more depth, and it's just like for me. With Marcy, it's not there. It's frustrating sometimes because I want to see it.
Marcy's never going to have depth.
Yeah, it sucks.
Again, you know, and that's the whole point, that Karen is the center of all of this, and she can study these characters, but without Karen, none of these guys really have depth.
Yeah, and it's weird, like, when they're having dinner together in the flashback. I don't know, like, Karen just seems so much more... She seems almost like too smart for that couple, and the fact that they go on these dinner dates together and they're really, really good friends. It seems like Karen would be like, you know, I don't know, she would hang out with a different group of friends or something. She seems like she's a lot more evolved, and I don't know, it's just
good luck finding those people in California.
Yeah, true. I guess. I mean, especially it's almost, in the industry.
I mean, to some degree, it became a friendship out of necessity, and it just grew and grew from there. Obviously, with Hank and Runkle.
Yeah, Hank and Runkle were
client relationship, and then, you know, who are you going to spend time with for the most part? Oh.
Yeah.
It just kind of made sense.
They had that business relationship. They became best friends, and they just kind of, yeah, you're right.
But before we get into Hank and Karen specifically, I want to give a little couple of plugs, actually. I'll do 2.
All right, I'm looking forward to this.
Let's start with California Psychics. Tomorrow starts today. Career, money, relationships, and love, Andreas.
Yes.
We have so many big decisions in life, just like, obviously, tonight's episode of Californication.
So many decisions.
Isn't it worth it to have your own personal advisor giving that peace of mind and confidence that you're on the right path?
Yes, it is.
That's what I really, I argue that Hank needed he just needs someone to show him that path.
California Psychic.
Well, he should have called California Psychics at 1-800-PREDICT or go to CaliforniaPsychics.com to speak to someone to help you give you the right direction that you're looking for, whether it's a big decision, something personal you need to know. Maybe you're having doubts about the next step in your life.
I have a lot
Young,
of doubts.
old, it doesn't matter. You need advice.
Everybody needs advice.
CaliforniaPsychics.com is only $1 a minute for new customers. Call 1-800-PREDICT now before you make the final leap. Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com before you miss your opportunity on Mr. Right. You've been looking for Mr. Right for a while, I know, Andreas.
I know. I'm looking for Mr. Right now.
That's right.
$1 a minute, I can make that investment.
Well, tomorrow starts today with CaliforniaPsychics.com.
I'm super excited. So I wonder if we can call him right now and find out what happens next episode. Put him on the spot.
We might be able to.
Charge Maria Menounos the $1 a minute. It'll be a business expense.
Of course.
Find out when Becca gets back.
So let's get into Hank and Karen.
Okay, wait, how many plugs do we have? That's our first plug. Oh, our second.
Well,
plug.
you want me to go straight from one to the other? All right. Today we're filled with plugs.
All right.
There is a new book out by the name of The Every Girl's Guide to Diet and Fitness, and perhaps if you're a girl, you're very excited right now. If you're a guy listening to this, you're like, Every Girl's Guide to what? It's not just for girls. And it's kind of broken up into various things. It's got workout tips, it's got life stories, and it's got recipes.
And pictures of Maria Menounos.
So if you're a guy, it's got pictures of Maria Menounos, and if you're a guy, you should, and you have a girl, you know what? This will keep your relationship going as well because you can get it to your girlfriend. She's gonna love it.
It's a present for both of you in all reality because if you give this picture, well, I don't know though. How do you feel about giving an exercise diet book to a girl? It's like buying a piece of exercise equipment or a gym membership for a girlfriend. What is that saying?
All you have to do is just say, hey, you know what, baby? There's a lot of great stories from celebrities in here that I think you would enjoy, and it's got great recipes of food that I want to make for you.
That's
true. Why I got the book. Boom, we got you covered.
Grandma, what's up? Yeah,
The Every Girl's Guide to Diet and Fitness out now by Maria Menounos. It helps keep this ship afloat when you purchase your copy.
Yeah, your holy temple, baby.
And if you want a signed copy, there's a book tour that Maria is doing. Check that out on Facebook.com/Maria Menounos.
That's dope.
All right.
Is it like all over the country or?
Yeah, you know, she's doing Boston. She's doing D.C. This weekend, and she just did New York. She did, I believe, Chicago was one of the destinations.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Check it out.
Sweet. Check it out. It's a beautiful book, so I recommend it. So does Phil.
I do. All right.
Where are we at now?
Speaking of the every girl, Karen, she keeps everybody together.
Yeah. Karen is the glue that brings everything together.
I liked the flashbacks tonight. It was a very subdued episode, but the flashbacks to me were kind of, I don't know how much they propelled the story forward, but it was funny to see Bill in there, which, you know, we're tying it back to season where everything's now going back to, even though we're getting to the end, we're tying it back to the start.
Yeah, they have to because there's only like a few episodes left, so they have to tie everything together. And this was obviously the episode that kind of just was trying to bring everything back together because I totally forgot who Bill was for a second. I had to look him up, and you reminded me who Bill was.
Of course I did. And, you know, I predicted in last week's episode that the church scene would be another kind of dream sequence. And it wasn't. And he even says that, you know, I dream of this place a lot, but, you know, it's so different when you're actually here. And
that was that was on the like pilot episode, was it not? Like the
it's been a motif throughout the whole season. Yeah, certainly it was definitely in the first episode, but yeah, it's been reused multiple times. And you know, last week they teased it, and I just thought from the teaser that she was gonna go down on him.
Yeah,
just 'cause
it wasn't the same girl though, right? It was
no.
Okay.
No,
she was equally as pretty though. Well, I don't know equally, but she was a beautiful nun.
How did you think about their banter back and forth? You know, with regards to, you know, are you religious person, you have faith, and he says no, but I close my eyes and I think of this place, or I write, and she's like, well, that sounds like prayer to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was because I don't think Hank is a religious person, but I think everybody has a little bit of faith, and I think that was appropriate title for tonight's episode because
Faith,
even
hope,
if
and love.
Faith, hope, and love, because you don't have to necessarily worship something or someone to have a little faith, and I mean he's drawn to that place obviously, and it was a nice little banter between the two. It was very honest of him and open of him. So
I think that the place scares him simply because he, as he says, he is a blasphemous. If there was a top 10 most blasphemous list, he would probably be on it.
Yeah.
So I think he knows the path to righteousness, if you want to call it that, but he's never been one to go down it.
Yeah. He kept referring to himself as a wayward son. It's one of those things where he knows his past, and I feel like he's afraid to confront it, and I feel like he thinks it's too late, he's too far gone, but maybe, he realizes now that it's never too late to change the way you are, and maybe he will grow up, because they kept alluding, Karen in the flashbacks, saying you need to grow up, you can't be a kid forever or whatever, so maybe he will grow up, maybe this will be an experience, him going to church and having that conversation and Karen getting through it. It was like a flashback of, what he almost lost, and maybe that would be enough to realize that he can't live without her. And when you almost lose something, you actually realize, how much you care about that one thing. So hopefully that will.
And it keeps getting brought up. The alcohol is a problem for him, women. And there's that great scene with him and Becca where she says, why can't you just work it out? Why has it got to be that hard? And, for 7 seasons, we've made it this hard.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it has to be that hard as they're making it out to be. And I think ultimately that's the lesson that's going to be learned of, it can be simple.
It's true. Because it's not like he's a raging alcoholic. I mean, I think
it can be.
But, I mean, He didn't drink this episode. He didn't drink the last episode. It's not like every episode.
He drinks when he doesn't have a solution for a problem.
Yeah, but it's not every day. I don't think he hasn't gotten to the point where he has the shakes and he has to drink every night before he goes to bed. He does do it.
He was in rehab. Let's be honest.
Yeah, you're right.
Remember last season?
Yeah, and I think it was. He did mention how serious it was at one point where he said that could have been me driving, because there's been many of occasions where like I've actually been behind the wheel when I had too much to drink. Yeah. So that could have been me. So he's obviously he understands that it is an issue. So
he's certainly early on, at least he had anger issues, obviously, with punching the walls numerous times.
Yeah. So we've he confronted a lot of main issues today. And Morgan Freeman, we don't know his character, but he was cool. He was like a little angel that appeared and gave him some really good sound advice. And,
Now this is the second wife that has kind of quote unquote died in this season, right? We had Atticus Fetch's manager.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Road manager. He came back for the love of his life, and she died. And now, he befriends this person who's got a wife with cancer. And from what it looked like, we didn't really hear anything, but it looked like she passed away.
Yeah, I would say she passed away. And a few times in this episode, I think Morgan Freeman, the nun, and the doctor asked him if she was your wife, referred to Karen as his wife, and he never really said she's not my wife. I don't think. Did he? He
said eventually with the sister, he said, "Well, she's actually not my wife. It's out of wedlock."
Oh yeah, because he didn't want to lie in church. I guess that was that moment where he was like, "All right, I've already sinned enough. I might as well."
Yeah, but certainly he's not
opposed to being labeled as a husband and her having that label as a wife, so I think he's getting a little comfortable with that. I don't know. Maybe there'll be a proposal.
I think the reason why he does feel uncomfortable with it is because she doesn't see it that way.
Yeah.
She would never view him as a husband, because that obviously comes with terms and conditions of, accomplishing and being certain things that he's never been.
Yeah.
So, and Becca didn't pick up or I don't know what exactly happened, but
that was the first time this whole season he's even tried to contact his daughter, from what I can recall. And yeah, she didn't answer the phone. Didn't even go to voicemail, did it?
We don't know. I kind of cut away, so I'm not quite sure exactly.
You would think if there was an accident, that would be the first person you call. I think they kind of waited a while to call.
Well, who would have called? You know, because he got the call from Marcy,
and then it seemed like he was at the hospital for a while before he even called her. He was trying to get something from a vending machine, which seemed like on the top of his priority list before even contacting his daughter. That happened before he even picked up the phone. I think, was it after he had that conversation with Morgan Freeman that he decided to call Becca?
Yeah.
So it's weird. It just kind of shows you his relationship with his daughter. I don't think it's as strong as I'd like to think it would be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's. I think he's just so burdened with everything. I mean, not only now does he have to call her and say, you know, in that moment, hey, your mother has been in a car accident. We don't know what's going on, because they held that over us. We didn't really get too many details right up until the end when we saw her. And then also, even, you know, once he's past that, it's like, also, you have a brother?
Yeah, but it's one of those things where he's got these skeletons in the closet and he's afraid to confront them. I think that's obviously an underlying issue that Hank has throughout the seasons. He's got these issues and he's just covering them up with Band-Aids, and it's like, obviously one day he has to confront these issues and comes to terms with them. And that was perfectly, you know, showcased when he was at the church. Like, he's scared to confront these demons because he's afraid of.
It was also quite evident at couples therapy.
Oh yeah, we didn't even.
Why again? Because you're the most offensive out of all of us here.
Yeah, that was seen. It just showed you how immature he was, because it's like having an argument with Hank. He's more worried about what song is on the radio. He needs to be in control. And when he's in his car, I feel like a lot of people who need to be in control all the time.
I don't think it's necessarily he needs to be in control. He just doesn't like when other people control him.
Yeah, which is why he's not married, and that's why he isn't in a committed relationship, because I think he's afraid of that.
Yeah. And
the things he's arguing about are like very immature things. What's on the radio, stuff like that. So, and when Karen wants to have a very serious conversation about the relationship, it keeps going to sex. He's like trying to use humor and stuff like that to dodge the real issue with the relationship.
Humor is a way to get around serious issues.
Yeah,
a lot of people use
that a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people use that as a defense mechanism.
So, it's crazy. A lot of issues.
But here's the thing, you know, as we get into predictions.
There we go.
And now,
timing wasn't quite right.
Steven, your concussion, dude. Come on now.
Predictions.
It's affecting him.
All right. You know, we got such a somber episode. We see Karen, you know, and Hank, and she says, you know, this doesn't change anything. And then we get the previews, and it's another typical Californication party scene. I'm like, how are we going to connect the dots between what is just happening right now to next week?
It's like one extreme to the next with this.
And, you know, and as Runkle says, you invited Julia to Karen's party?
Yeah, where's his common sense? Like, does he not see? Like, is he trying to get under somebody's skin, or does he just not connect the dots?
But I guess you know, if his whole thing is about confronting issues, I don't know if this will happen, but maybe Becca comes back. Maybe he's got everybody that he's ever
putting all the cards on the table right now.
Yeah, and he's gonna be like, hey, that's my other baby mama. That's my other kid. So that's solved. By the way, Julia, we were kind of doing our thing, but I'm going to be with Karen. So now everybody knows at the same time, one speech to give.
So that's your prediction?
I mean,
he's putting all the cards on the table?
Logically, that would make the most sense.
Yeah.
If he doesn't go that way, then he's just continuing his weird pattern of, like, what are you doing?
I'd say that makes sense, but then, like, Rob Lowe's at the party, just like a...
And he's got to confront them, too.
And then Stu's there with $1 million in cash and a briefcase.
Hey, you know what? He's got to confront them, too, because he's probably going to say, hey, you know what? What you're doing to Karen, to Marcy and Runkle is wrong. And it just, but in typical Californication fashion, it just goes to hell.
It's just going to turn into a freak show. Yeah, so I don't know. Will they make any progress? It seems like, you know, we had a moment in this episode, like obviously very somber and very serious, and it was a very serious note. And I don't know, now we're going back for previews are showing it's going to go back to the normal Californication. So I don't know if they made any progress. I don't know. Maybe, honestly, I don't know what to say in this prediction. I think we'll figure out where his relationship stands with Julian is where his relationship stands with Karen, because they're both going to be together in the same room for one. So I think he's really going to choose which one, you know.
I mean, the show's had a very great success in having these far-fetched ideas come to fruition in parties and whatever else, and they've always hit us hard right at the end with some sort of, you know, truth or you know, something to bring it back to realism.
Yeah.
And the show's been great at that. And I think ultimately for Californication to kind of wrap up, I think Hank needs to have and force that moment on his own.
Yeah.
Because it's always been life to bring him back down to that realism. Yeah. It's never been Hank. And, you know, maybe that's how the season ends. What that means.
One big intervention or something.
We've tried that before with Hank. But, so, I don't know.
So do you think Becca's going to be in the episode?
Perhaps not necessarily, but you know, in my own weird mind, that's the only way. Perhaps this makes sense. Again, they've been so great in doing it that I've never predicted them right.
Yeah.
So who knows? We've got 3 more episodes left.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how this all ends. I have no idea what's gonna happen next week. It's just crazy, but I'm excited to watch like I am every week. So.
And the people can find you where?
Find me on Instagram, Greek Casanova on Instagram. Yeah, like my pictures. It makes me feel good about myself.
And don't they have to friend request you to follow you?
Oh yeah. I have a you'd be part of a super VIP like exclusive club if you friend request me, and once I approve you, like my photos, and I'll like yours back, and it makes us feel better about ourselves.
VIP about the whole thing.
Are we friends on Instagram?
Well, I'm AfterBuzz TV. I don't have it because unlike
you need to
Twitter,
get a personal page.
Unlike Twitter, it doesn't allow you multiple accounts on a phone.
Oh.
So, and the only way to do it is on a phone, so it doesn't quite work.
But on Instagram, I have an Instagram page for a dog and me. You just have to log in and log out.
I'm not gonna do that. Follow us at on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at AfterBuzz TV. Stephen Lemieux.
You can find me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux, StephenLemieux, or you can check me out on the Graceland After Show here at AfterBuzz TV and The Strain coming in July.
And follow at Roxy Stryer, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. She's gonna be back just in time for the last 3 episodes. It's been fun talking with you guys. Let us know what you guys thought of tonight's episode. Heck, let us know what you guys thought of every episode. We're coming to the series. That's right, series finale. It's going to be here before you know it, and we're all going to be sad with you. Until next time, this is us for June 8th. Happy birthday, Stephen Lemieux.
Happy birthday.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.